right within. This is your essence unleashed.
Welcome to the debate. Today, we're diving deep into the olfactory landscape. Specifically, we're looking at the pretty dramatic evolution of what we even call luxury in the fragrance market, especially with all these changes driven by, consumer behavior and new technologies.
Yeah, it's a really fascinating area because that whole relationship between prestige, price, and performance, well, it's transforming so quickly. And especially, like you said, with the emergence of these high-quality, accessible alternatives that seem to directly challenge the old guard, the legacy houses.
Exactly. And that brings us to the central question, which I think is pretty crucial. Does the model we're seeing from newer players, like, say, La Vostra Essenza, who offer these homage fragrances, but with a real emphasis on quality, sustainability, accessibility, does that represent a genuine, third path that successfully redefines modern luxury? Or is it fundamentally just a very optimized, very successful version of the clone fragrance market that, strategically relies on the creative heavy lifting, the risk, taken by traditional luxury houses?
That really is the core tension, isn't it? Where does it truly sit?
So my position is that this model does successfully redefine luxury. It aligns with contemporary consumer values, things like mindfulness, practicality, accessibility. And it does this, importantly, without really compromising on performance or the quality of the ingredients. They're sort of speaking the language of the modern, ambitious, conscious consumer, someone who perhaps values utility over, let's say, an accessible historical prestige.
Okay, well, I come at it from a slightly different angle. While I absolutely see that La Vostra Essenza, or LVE as we might call it, is successful as a business and frankly a great option for consumers, I think this model primarily functions as a highly accessible replication strategy. It strategically capitalizes on the olfactory innovation and, crucially, the established brand prestige of traditional luxury houses. And that means it's fundamentally reliant on them, rather than being a true replacement for the established creative trend-setting part of the market.
Okay, let me try and frame my argument maybe within the context of some of the bigger market trends we're seeing. The industry is already undergoing a pretty profound shift, moving away from that centralized brand power. We know the niche market alone, for instance, is projected to grow with a, frankly, impressive compound annual growth rate of about 14.52%. Now, that figure, for me, that's kind of the smoking gun. It proves consumers are actively looking beyond the traditional gatekeepers. And La Vostra Essenza is, simply meeting that demand with a very modern proposition.
I'm sorry, but I just don't automatically buy that a new distribution philosophy, or even a focus on certain values, automatically equals a new definition of luxury. Luxury traditionally, it's defined by rarity, by unique provenance, by heritage.
But maybe modern luxury prioritizes different things, like utility and access. LVE's philosophy explicitly states that luxury should be sustainable, accessible, and empowering. That seems like a clear, deliberate move away from the, centuries-old, often quite exclusionary traditions of high perfumery. And crucially, let's consider the performance aspect. This is usually the Achilles heel of budget alternatives, right? Standard clone fragrances, they often last maybe 3, maybe 6 hours, and the quality can be, all over the place. LVE, though, seems to provide quality that actively rivals luxury performance. We see customers reporting exceptional longevity, lasting 7 to 8 hours on skin, even longer on clothing. That level of staying power directly addresses a major functional weakness of typical dupes.
That's a powerful point regarding longevity, I'll grant you that. And I acknowledge they seem to have solved that basic performance failure of, let's be honest, many cheap replicas. However, let's be really precise about the nature of the product itself. La Vostra Essenza simply cannot claim to redefine luxury when its core offering is, explicit replication. Products like Mr. Steal Yo Girl are openly marketed as an homage to Aventus. Capitano del Mare is an homage to Dylan Blue. This isn't subtle borrowing or inspiration. It is strategic, open mapping onto established successful fragrances.
Though I might frame it differently. Perhaps they're optimizing a proven concept, improving on it, not just replicating it cheaply.
Optimization, yes, perhaps, but at its core, their most compelling advantage, let's be frank, is precisely the most compelling advantage of all clone fragrances: affordability. They cost, what, 50 to 80% less than the designer originals? And the definition of luxury, it has to involve things like brand prestige and experience, including that rich heritage and, crucially, an authentic, unique creative process. LVS kind of skips the heritage part and, well, subordinates the creative process to replication. I mean, their appeal seems functionally driven by these comparisons. You see customers noting, Albi La Rosa reminds her of Chanel Mademoiselle. This just reinforces its status as a superior alternative, not an original luxury offering capable of setting its own trends or defining luxury itself.
Okay, this brings us right to that core issue, doesn't it? Creative integrity versus reliance, as you put it. I see why you'd think that, but let me offer maybe a different perspective on that homage terminology and the creative process behind it. You challenge LVE's claim of having master perfumers creating modern compositions, when, as you say, every listed fragrance is an homage. You're implying there's a contradiction there.
Precisely. If they are truly employing master perfumers, giving them creative freedom, why not use that talent to pioneer genuinely unique scents that don't rely on existing successful profiles? This model benefits enormously, from the massive high-risk investment that luxury brands make in R&D and scent testing. They effectively skip the multi-year development cycle, which often costs millions in materials, marketing research, testing, all that stuff, and they go straight to, essentially, reverse engineering a proven, globally successful hit. That massive initial investment in risk, that's arguably what defines traditional luxury creative integrity, and LV's bypasses it entirely.
I'm not totally convinced by that line of reasoning, though, because it feels like you're defining luxury mostly by the financial burden of potential failure rather than the quality or experience of the final product. My counter-argument is that LVE is focused on delivering a kind of guaranteed positive experience. The homage terminology, perhaps it simply fulfills a very specific, very modern consumer desire, the enjoyment of a familiar, desired scent profile, but delivered with integrity and critically without that huge price barrier. LVE seems to use high-quality ingredients and modern formulation techniques to ensure that documented 7 to 8 hours of longevity, which, as we agreed, is something generic, cheap dupes just cannot reliably achieve. So they're delivering quality without compromise, maybe using better ingredients than typical dupes? Isn't this more about practical luxury for daily life rather than, intellectual property theft?
But that creative risk, that initial leap, that's what allows the market to actually move forward, isn't it? If everyone simply optimizes existing successes, where does the genuine innovation come from? The industry could stagnate.
I'm not sure I agree it leads to stagnation. The traditional luxury market is still innovating, surely. But LVE is addressing a different, maybe parallel demand, the demand for performance, accessibility, and utility. This is perhaps about practical luxury for people who are, as they say, on the go.
Okay, I accept your point on the longevity and the appeal of practical, convenient design. But speaking of modern values, I do want to pivot now to the question of ethical consumption and sustainability, because this is arguably where LVE makes its strongest pitch for redefining luxury, not just replicating it.
And I'd argue that this is the strongest case. LVE seems to actively address these transformative market trends. Their stated commitment to mindful choices and minimalist and eco-friendly packaging that resonates deeply with the growing mainstream expectation for responsible consumption. This isn't just, marketing fluff. They appear to be responding to that statistic. What is it, 75% of millennials preferring natural products and wanting clean formulations? So LVE's holistic approach to sourcing, packaging, emphasizing long-lasting freshness, minimalist elegance, and mindful choices, isn't that redefining luxury as something responsible, practical, ethical, rather than just rare and expensive?
That's definitely a compelling argument on the surface, but have you considered that sustainability, while admirable, might also be strategically used here? Perhaps to, let's say, provide ethical cover for what is still fundamentally a price-driven proposition. I would argue the brand is, perhaps very cleverly, ticking the boxes of contemporary ethical concerns primarily to justify a product whose main value proposition remains cost reduction. The affordability, as you know, allows consumers to do things like build diverse fragrance wardrobes, explore multiple scents, without the significant financial risk that comes with buying true luxury originals. That, I suspect, is the core benefit they truly offer.
But why must cost and responsibility be mutually exclusive? Can't something be both affordable and ethically produced?
They can be, but look at the business structure and positioning. It seems designed to prioritize accessibility above all else. The brand's strategic location in Singapore, for example, positions it perfectly in the Asia-Pacific region. That's tapping into a market segment where affordability and accessibility are absolutely key drivers, even for the high-growth niche products. This suggests to me they are primarily serving a demand for budget optimization and portfolio expansion, rather than setting a genuinely new bar for high-end original creative artistry. They represent the smart, practical choice, perhaps, but not necessarily the pioneering, luxury-defining choice.
Okay, but I have to reject the notion that a lower price automatically diminishes the luxury experience, especially when the product performs well and aligns with contemporary consumer values. Let's look closely at the consumer experience itself, because surely that's the ultimate arbiter of what feels like luxury to the person using it.
Right, but we must address the specific technical differences here, I think. We've established that LVE delivers impressive longevity, that 7 to 8 hours is fantastic staying power, no question. But that's longevity. It's not necessarily complexity or development over time.
Okay, explain that distinction maybe. For someone listening, what's the difference?
Well, true luxury scents, the originals that LVA often mimics, they're typically formulated to be more like scent stories. They have intricate, often very expensive top, middle, and base notes that are specifically designed to evolve over hours on the skin. They reveal different facets, different aspects of the composition as they dry down. Now, the quality of the raw materials and the complexity of the formulation needed to achieve that kind of dynamic evolution is, frankly, immense and costly. I question whether LVA, despite its excellent ingredients and performance in terms of staying power, truly captures that intricate layering, that complexity, or if it perhaps captures the central, most recognizable accord very well, and then uses high concentrations of fixatives simply to deliver that strong longevity.
I see the technical point you're making, but I might frame the impact differently. For the modern consumer, is that really esoteric discussion of intricate layering the main concern? Or is it the outcome? The consumer testimonials consistently praise the result, that the scents boost confidence, they're suitable for professional settings, they generate compliments, they last all day. Someone noted Shaw Salacious is unique and not overpowering. It seems La Vostra Senza offers an optimal solution by directly addressing the known disadvantages of the old clone market: poor longevity, cheap ingredients. They're effectively bridging that gap.
They are certainly bridging the gap between, say, a generic clone and an original. I wouldn't dispute that. But bridging a gap doesn't automatically make them a luxury original themselves.
But the very fact that they deliver the emotional and practical benefits people seek from fragrance, the confidence, the pleasure, without the often prohibitive high price point or the limited accessibility that characterizes so much of traditional luxury, doesn't that mean they have redefined the category for a significant group of consumers? Luxury maybe is reimagined as something practical, something that fits into fresh mornings, late nights, and everything in between, as they put it. If the confidence boost feels the same, why should someone pay 50 to 80% more just for the legacy brand name?
Well, one argument is that you are funding the innovation, the R&D, that drives the whole industry forward when you buy the original. But I will concede that LVE is undeniably a superior, market-disrupting alternative within the broader fragrance ecosystem. They've clearly found a very successful niche.
So, ultimately, I assert that La Vostra Senza successfully occupies a strategic market position precisely by prioritizing utility and ethics alongside performance. They offer quality, performance, and that values alignment, long-lasting freshness, mindful choices, that, for many, redefines what premium or even luxury means in the 21st century fragrance landscape. It's a focus on everyday utility over perhaps inaccessible prestige. They could be seen as the new pioneers in accessible luxury.
And while I absolutely believe LV navigates the market brilliantly and provides a vastly superior option compared to cheap clones, its fundamental reliance on replicating existing, proven scent profiles means its identity is, in my view, inherently secondary. It remains dependent on the legacy brands who took the initial creative and financial risks. Its success is predicated on the groundwork laid by others, and that, for me, limits its claim to true independent innovation in the art of perfumery, and thus its claim to redefining luxury itself.
Though the very fact that we're having this debate, I think, underscores the point. The rise of these high-quality, accessible alternatives marks a really significant transformation in the market. Things are definitely changing.
Absolutely. And it invites the listener, really, to consider where the ultimate value of a scent lies for them. Is it in its original artistry, its unique, perhaps evolving complexity, and the heritage of the brand? Or is the true measure of modern luxury found more in its practical, ethical, and affordable delivery to the end user? It's a fascinating question.
Close your eyes, dear Essenzas, and imagine a world where every scent tells a story. A world where fragrances are not just perfumes but journeys, where memories are not just moments but vivid, aromatic adventures. Welcome to the fragrance brand that understands the art of capturing emotions, La Vostra Essenza Profumeria. In each of episode collections, we invite you to embark on a sensory odyssey where we explore the boundless horizons of scent. Join us as we dive deep into the realms of fragrant notes and enchanting essences, where the stories behind each bottle unfold like the pages of a cherished novel. At La Vostra Essenza, we believe that fragrances are not just about smelling good. They're about feeling deeply. Our perfumes are crafted with passion and precision, designed to transport you to places you've never been and emotions you've yet to explore. With each episode collections, we'll take you on a fragrant voyage through time and space, from the sweet nostalgia of old-fashioned scents to the bold, innovative fragrances of tomorrow. So, join us, dear Essenzas, as we embark on this exquisite journey through the world of fragrances. La Vostra Essenza Profumeria is not just about scents. It's about the emotions, memories, and experiences that they evoke. Are you ready to awaken your senses, to explore the uncharted territories of your essence? Then, dear friends, welcome to La Vostra Essenza. Let the fragrance-infused adventure begin. Discover your essence with La Vostra Essenza. Your olfactory adventure starts here. Visit lavostraessenza.com right now to start your fragrance journey. Be ready